Okay, imperialism, one of my favorite things. This is what I want to talk about. With Trump, one of the better things so far is not even really any of the particular ideas that have been put out there concerning stuff like Greenland or Canada and things like that, but just the fact that we're doing it and starting to think like that again and starting to think about a new all the possibilities that there are that could come from, if we want to pursue it, if we want to put our energies towards this to expand, to really change the world and get out in there and maybe get back to it with our weapons and actually throwing weight around and exerting force and projecting power in a real way. It's exciting, and I think it's kind of in the air a little bit. People feel a little refreshed by it, revitalized. It might be that this is going to be something that characterizes the era going forward. Just like at different times, there are just things that just catch on with all these different countries or something at this more or less the same. But it just seems like there's something going on to this extent. Especially we're already in a war going on. Maybe to some extent, this is from Russia. I'll say I still think that this is the Russian attack on Ukraine is still one of the more. It's something like that. I mean, I get why Putin did it, and I think I get it a lot more than most of these third worldist, treasonous, dissident types who are into all the Russia crap. I think I really get it better than them, or even because these people are cucked in their mindset, and even the Nazbol Nazi Russian neo-fascist Putinite, the real Putler follower, even this sort of thing are you hear them argue for Russia, and it's kind of libtard sounding to me. Even much more compared to Trump, where it's they turn it into a self-defense war and just completely based on lies. Just you get that you could tell anything Russia says they'll believe, where anything our government says they're going to be dubious about. But they I think that it is an imperialistic move, and I don't think imperialism is a bad thing at all. And in fact, this became a dirty word with like Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, Lenin freaking type, commie, like in World War I, everyone, if you were a serious country, you were just an imperialist country. It's just what you were. It wasn't like you had like an ideology or something like we're going to be integralists or something. We're going to be distributionists. You were just, you would just be France and you were an imperialist, and that's what, that you were respectable as a country. And that's, that's what in World War I we had the multipolar world, which that's what a multipolar world looks like, is World War I. When the Russians will try to say, like, why would we want this? But I mean, this is a more traditional way about it. When Yaki said what his ideology was, he called it imperialism. He didn't call it like Nazbol or whatever people try to say. He said it's called imperialism. That's his ideology. That's his whole, it's best. That's what he was about. getting to, that sums it all up, doesn't it? Imperialism. Anyway, we have people who like, I saw like, someone would say, because before, and this is why it's such a refreshing, because all the conservatards and such are saying, we don't want war. We voted for no wars. Or something, like Scott Ritter or something. He's like, we vote no war. Dang it, Trump. Dang it, Trump. Won't you listen? When the people voted, we voted for no. That's not an acceptable vote. If the people vote for no war under any circumstance, then they have to be squashed down and not listened to. That's not a population that has any sense. This is why populism is garbage and shit. And just like, it's just like the dumbest. It's so depressing if you look at like social media now, and you see like what the democratization of media and arts and news and all this stuff is. It's kind of depressing because you see how dumb people really are. Like, there's people who I just see them and I just feel sick that like we're from the same country or something. But in the end, you just have to accept that you have a certain amount of unthinking fools. It's not like everyone needs to be as smart as me or something, or I'm going to think they're a dumbass, or, but like at some point it gets to be a little much, and you just start getting disappointed by the cowardice and the low lifeness. It's too much. You expect a little better. In general, I still think we have the best country, the best nation, the best race, the best. I would consider America racially the healthiest country still. And but you see a lot of these people. But I mean, however much we have a lot of really dumb people, and we have a lot of people who are brainwashed, and this has not really stopped us in the past as a country. We've gotten to be a very powerful country where everyone was basically, no one was really, had like some cool correct ideology or something. It's just how it is. But at some point we need to get to be a real country, a normal, healthy country. We need to purge out the idiot talk. We need to purge out the Ron Paulism, and we can't have all this kind of like people just be like pussies like that, like, and have like nonsense ideology that's all about just making money and whatever. This is what entices libertarians for the most part. Either they'll be kind of like really contrarian, kooky people, or they're just, but mostly it's like the people who are really about the ideology are like rich, they have all this money, but they don't want to acknowledge that maybe they got the money, in part they had a circumstance that was advantageous, due to the fact that they could carry out their business under the protection of a state that they don't contribute anything to, or don't want to contribute anything to. Anyway, you see this stuff where people say, wow, Republicans just overnight went from being anti-war, anti-interventionism to straight up imperialism. Wow. And of course they will just argue and kick and scream about, no matter what the topic is, why they're not imperialism and this is not different. And like they'll make all their kooky points or something like oh, was it imperialist when we did or this or that? And really though, it should just be wow, that's really great. because this is correct. We should dump all the anti-intervention, anti-war people, all their ideology, which is a lot of it is from foreigners, and it's just because they're ingesting a lot of foreign poison ignorantly, because they're in their basement not wanting to listen to anyone else or warning labels or so, and they just take all the foreign poison, which of course, it'd be in the interest of Russia or China or like Muslims or something if we're just complete pussies and not doing anything. That's why these people have this ideology. It's they have money, or they listen to foreigners, and they have some weird thing where they are always taking after foreign things, which is always a problem with any people, that there are going to be people like that. But we have a lot of it, and it's going on for a long time, and there's nothing safeguarding it. But slowly but surely, things are still progressing forward, despite what all these people might want. And more, we're seeing these pussies get sidelined, all the Ron Paul people, all the people like that. No one is interested in their crap, anymore. Because no one is that concerned about, they just have to be able to buy human babies on the black market or something. And taxes, most people get that taxation isn't theft or something, or whatever. This is absurd. So what we need to do is purge out all these people, and we need to purge out our inner Russia. Just like Spengler used to tell Germans that they need to purge their inner England. We need to purge our inner Russia. I mean, I'm of the exact opposite opinion, where he would say you should become more Asiatic, embrace the East. I think we should become more we should pick back up more of the spirit of empire, of a real empire, of a real naval, seagoing empire, expeditionary force. Okay, not the spirit of Russia, just fat ass, useless blob country that just sits there and does nothing, and then just causes all this trouble. But they've infected our people since, for 100 years now. You look at everything going on in the 60s and all that, which Russians were getting their fingers into everything and trying to, you see there's a major propaganda drive. And even before, you see even in World War II, we had incredible, and before World War II even, we had incredible communist infiltration from Russia, and all communism is coming from Russia now. Because you see all these people Hinkle and Has, and all these people, ACP and stuff, they're starting to grow a little bit, but they're obviously not going to go anywhere, and they grow in exact proportion to Russian influence in media ops, because that's all it is. Otherwise, communism is over. The high watermark was long ago. If communism couldn't have succeeded back then, where it's kind of over now. I think I don't really need to explain that too much, but you're seeing more of it catch on, where all these malfunctioning weirdos are getting picked up. All the weird, disaffected renegade weirdos or whatever they are gonna become communists or something. It become Hinkle, join ACP and things. So that's the only reason why they exist. But this thought, all these different kind of thoughts that are kind of against interventionism, I think we can kind of beat them down. And just because the thrill of actually, it's definitely in our interest to do that, and it feels good and thrilling, and it's always been good. And, like, I mean, I was reading in, I've been reading here, about Patton lately a lot. And I mean, this is going to be no surprise, but he really thought, anyone who didn't like fighting, he thought of as like a degenerate and like just like a messed up, dirty, like, why would you not enjoy fighting? Like, you couldn't, if an officer, an officer couldn't get on his staff if they didn't actually relish the idea of fight. They didn't have to subscribe to anything politically or anything. But he had extreme distrust of anyone. If you were trying to say like, wow, I hate war and fight, but as we have to do it, like what people will try to tell veterans they have to believe now, that attitude was considered sick and degenerate by General Patton. You say, and others all agreed, it'd be like, he might be taken to a little bit of an extreme, but in general, he had no trouble just finding normal people who just enjoyed fighting, who liked to, he wouldn't hear it if some weirdo came along and was just like, wow, I hate war so much, but I have to. It's kind of like what Omar Bradley says to him in the movie, but like, I mean, he was supposed to be, but that's kind of like what people think is like a normal attitude that Patton did not think is normal. He considered it degenerate. You should like to fight. In the movies, real Americans like to fight. I agree with this. The real Americans that like, I mean, the people I knew and I've always thought the highest of, and Marines I've known and people who volunteered and things like that, we were all about, we all, it was just a given. You just know it's fun to fight in a war. And little kids all know it and everything. So it's about getting back to normal and purging out all the poisonous ideas that people have picked up, over the years. And it's just been so much, and people have been so heavily propagandized, especially since like War on Terror and things like that, and like the amount of like libtard media propaganda, and I mean, it infected people pretty deep. Where everyone, like, I think it's like funny if the media, when the media was kind of like considering you like, and foreigners and media and all that would consider like, if you were a Marine fighting in Iraq, you were kind of like a bad guy at the time. Like, but I thought that was all funny. Other people would be shamed into like getting kind of cucked into some kind of like peace tart or something, and pretending war is bad, and then get into it with like, I'll meet these idiot, soft, easily swayed, vets all the time. We were lied to, man. Why don't like, I don't really like, I don't want to hear their crap. I want to start more wars, and I'd like to what I think it'll just be entirely corrective, and other people think so too. And I've always said everything because would be corrective, because you just become, you get natural. As you become more lethal, you're more in tune with nature. You are more, because it's transcendent when we go out of our way to be nice and whatever. It's not really the natural thing to do. Because war is more it. But the thing with all the hold on. Like a lot of people now will kind of crap on the country and how it's gone and why maybe it doesn't need to be an imperialist thing or doesn't need to spread all this stuff. A lot of times people now are going to go on about how it's LGBT and so forth, but this wasn't natural to the military. This wasn't even, it wasn't a top-down thing at all. It wasn't like, for instance, when I was in the Marine Corps, you couldn't be gay. You'd be given a bad conduct discharge and kicked out if anything came up. If you couldn't say that you were gay, and if you were caught doing anything and you didn't tell anyone, but you were caught doing something, you were gone. And it was kind of brought up a lot that this was not, you can't, it is considered immoral. And the whole military was in agreement on this. Okay. So it's not like people now will say, it's like, there's all this sentiment that's like anti-military now, and it's mixed in with anti-gay. Okay, now some people who know me really well might think or who know me kind of well, you might think, well, shouldn't you be about that? Aren't you? But not really, because I always preferred, if the military wasn't about that at all. But also, like, we're so far past, like, Don't Ask, Don't Tell and being repealed. And I'll just say, like, I was, like, the only one who, like, protested this at all. And there were some others, but, like, I knew them. And if they existed, they probably got in contact with me. So I know that there's a handful out, too. But they probably got in contact with me at the time, So I'm very cynical of these people who are now suddenly so against LGBT and they're against the military. But where were they, before? Why are they only showing up now? And they're showing up now as they started to show up big time with Ukraine. Where they say, well, Russia's not gay. Well, yeah, it is. But they'll say Russia's not gay, and Ukraine is. Even though actually Ukraine has the same laws in the books against homosexuality, which most countries do too, and actually most third world countries do too. And it's only really in the West, that you see all this stuff, and it's true, it's been promoted and all that. Keep in mind, though, that's always been a distant position. Going back to, like, Vietnam and stuff like that, when they would protest ROTCs and things like that, like JROTC and all this, they'd protest this. They say, well, the military doesn't allow homosexuals, so it's homophobic, it's discriminatory. That would be a big thing, even in the 80s, 90s, and so forth. It'd be a big thing. It'd be a bigger thing with wars going on or with more Russia financing and things like that. But figure this. It's been going on for a long time, and they've been pushing that, and foreigners have been pushing that, trying to say, hey, gay military, you need to let gays in the military, and protests were against the military. Going into the war on terror. So even after, like, it's like terrorists are, like, attacking buildings and killing people and stuff, and the military has to deal with this. They're protesting the military for not letting gay people at it. And this is such a psyop that it becomes a really popular thing. I mean, I watched all this because I keep tabs on all this. I've seen it all happen. If you're too young or something, hey, okay, you might be confused, but I've watched it all happen. I keep very close tabs on this stuff. Okay. And I mean, I like when I was in the military, I would, argue for different things, this and that. And I kind of see it as a betrayal. It hit me personally after I'd like argued for years with people that no, the military policy is good. These people should be excluded. They're excluded for a reason, and other people have too. Great Marine Corps war heroes and so forth have testified before Congress. Hey, if you let Captain John Ridley testified, he said, hey, if you let these people in, good people, decent people, Americans are decent people. They're not going to let their kids join this military. This is way ahead of time going into it. So when they did do the repeal, they let gay people in. I found there was no resistance at all. The military, I was shocked because there were so many military people who'd voiced like, yeah, no way, they could never let them people in here, they'd get fragged so quick, but you didn't see anything like no pushback. They just penalized, like, you're not allowed to say that's so gay if it's about something bad, or you're getting an NJP, or you're getting a court martial, or whatever, you're getting a page, I don't know what, but they say it's punishable. Crazy. Whereas before, I could think of people like Sergeant Major Barrett was the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps at the time of the repeal, and that was my battalion sergeant major before, and he would actually go on about he was not a fan of homosexuals at all, and we would actually say, wow, why does he need to give all these speeches ranting about all this stuff, because no one here is even gay. Like, you're not even allowed to be, like, it just seemed very strange. And then he ended up, I guess because he got such a high rank, his position, all that, he ended up, having to usher all this stuff in, which seemed to be a severe compromise from his own personal beliefs. I find a lot of this stuff extremely disturbing. There, maybe the other example, I guess, would be the General Peter Pace, who, he kind of went down for that. Like, he was like the first Marine chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Reporters say, hey, what about gays? He says, no, it's immoral. And they say, get out of here, go put your stars at the Vietnam War Memorial and walk away. Anyway, what the job wasn't worth it to him, he resigns. But good for him. But this shows there's major animosity and dissident thought was directed against the U.S. military that ushered all this stuff in. And this is what ushered in Obama as well. And it's frankly a lot of foreign thought, a lot of anti-war, anti-interventionist thought is what ended up manifesting itself in Obama, in gay marriage, gay military. Okay. But this stuff wasn't pushed from the top. Like, it's not like the US empire needed more war and decided to make more gay people or something. Like, that wasn't it. When they were going out about how much they hated intervention, how Bush is a Nazi, how Bush, like, that was one of their criticisms, homophobic military. And there were a lot of people, like, who would just rant about all this stuff throughout the years, and like, oh, this is so dumb. Military won't let, like, Bill Hicks and stuff. Oh, military is so dumb. They won't let gay, all these people are into this. This is like, if you were kind of like an edgy, dissident type, fuck the government, fuck Bush, whatever, you were probably all about all this gay shit, And I know you were, and I know a lot of these people were, and I know a lot of the same people because I see them, and it's people I know too, you know, where they were all about, because I'd see people on their Facebooks or whatever, and they'd start drinking for a time, or let's say around 2010 or so. This is where a lot of the people who are like, they might have been like some like country hot dog and country small towny goober whatever hotshot, whatever, homophobe redneck or whatever or whatever, like, and then they'd be like, oh, that's cool as long as you keep it out of my ass, like like, but they're going to gay bars and stuff. They go to Chicago Gay Pride Parade and drink and stuff like that, but now these same people will be like, fuck Bud Light, that's gay or something. But before, they were all about all this stuff, and they would be the first people to try to yell at me, because I've been yelled at a lot about by like a lot of rednecks and stuff, and who will like call you like a homophobe and stuff like that, and try to rip on you for not being about gay people, and my sister's gay, and and all the, like, I've heard tons of shit like this like over the years. I've heard a lot, and now these people though, now they're the ones who are all about like, I hate the military because it's gay or something. It's just like, what? Like, okay. I don't know about it. There's just something about it that seems ingenuine and kind of cheap, and I'm creeped out. So no, I'm not like just won over by the stuff or whatever. If you're ingenuine and crappy, I kind of digress a little bit, but I think, I guess I use it like, if I can, I don't know. Anyway, I find these lines of thought like ingenuine. And when people will be like, global American empire, gay, I'm like, there's nothing gay about becoming a more aggressive country. The country became gay by people bitching about the wars and by bitching about Bush and stuff. You brought Obama in, you brought it in. It's a popular policy. It wasn't the elites that, it's like projected like there's like the deep state is making people do this. But really it's the real people. No one wants to admit this, but it's true. And I could admit it because I could prove to you I was never about all this, gay shit or whatever. But other people can't prove it. So they have to pretend otherwise. They have to pretend like they have to pretend like Ukraine is like their Bud Light or something. But it's not really true. And Ukraine is nothing about like all this gay stuff or whatever. It's entirely, that was a product of the same dissidents who back Russia now. They're the same people. Like, just look at the huge faction of like dissidents, and just you could figure out just how deep all this goes, where the people who were like because it's all people like Jackson Hinkle or something, or Tulsi or something, who were the loudest voices for making everything as gay as possible. When they'll be like the Bush is a Nazi, like then they're gonna turn around and be like, on this? No. It's very much a cynical ploy. So like, you can't just like attack my country psychologically and turn it gay and then make me like try to hate it or something. I know where the poison came from, more or less, or at least I have a good idea how to clean it out. The thing is, here's the thing. When people they see like, or what is it now, like they'll see like the ad with like the army ad with like a white guy in it, and like people, oh no, now that there's a white guy in the ad, it's going to be World War III. And you know, so you want just basically you would prefer it the other way around. You don't like, like how is that a way to look at it? Things improve and you're spazzing out that it must mean World War III. It must mean the deep state needs cannon fodder. Really? I'm pretty sure they could just trick you one way or another. They don't need to um like you're a fool. Like if they really wanted, if they needed cannon fodder, they would just take you. Instead of people crying about things improving, because that means World War III. But here's the thing: if we had, say, if there was a choice between World War III and like it's like then or the army ad stays the same. Like the army ads are all going to be like the soldiers will be like obese black women and like lesbians or something. And that'll be like the US Army soldiers in the commercial. But it'll be peace. There's no real need for war. There's no real need for the army. It's peace. And then everything else is all messed up. And with immigration and it's just the most degenerate place and it's just an evil country and things are all messed up. Or, there's World War III and actually things are like way better and things are back to normal and it's a great American thing, like all over. It just seems a no-brainer to me. Like it's like if you're like the meme with like the sweaty guy and like there's like the two buttons and all that. And like the easiest thing would be like just World War III. But this shows how one way, like it's like there's no need to spaz out. You just be cannon fodder then. Like if they need cannon fodder for World War III, and then the deal is though everything will go back to normal. That's a good deal. But I think this is just insane. Like to even talk like World War III. Okay, that's highly unlikely. like no one wants it. No one, and I think we're talking about like a nuclear war where everyone's just like nuking each other and everything. Personally, I think World War III would go pretty quick, and we would just like nuke everyone. Like we would nuke our enemies until there's nothing left, and then we just go about our day the next day, and that'll be about it. I think that's about. Maybe I'm. I mean, we'll see. But I think that's more likely than. I guarantee that's more likely than what other people think, which is the end of the world. No one can really do that to us. And also no one can the other thing they'll say is like, oh, well, Israel wants to bring the white man back so they can kill us all in their wars or something. But who would that be? There isn't an Israeli enemy country or something that would inflict that level of attrition where there'd be some Jewish deep state operatives who are let's draft all these white guys and genocide them through war. We'll give them weapons. You wouldn't give them weapons because they, I don't know. I see it much differently than you don't give weapons to people you mean to enslave. You just enslave them. That's not how other people think. Even totalitarian countries don't necessarily just draft their hated populations into their army because they know that'd be a problem. They don't want to give them weapons because it'd be a big problem. Islamic caliphates in the past didn't draft non-Muslims for the purpose of killing them or something. Muslims were the ones who fought, and that was Islamic states or something. So why are they just using their own people for cannon fodder for killing them or something? This is the kind of ideas that have infected people, that you think war is bad. You think war means you don't make it. It's only, in fact, war will revitalize us and improve things. And maybe certain people will never make it through, but they're meant to be kind of war is meant to kind of figure, not to say like it's, I don't think war is necessarily like eugenic or dysgenic, like the right people are dying or the wrong people are dying. I don't really see that. I don't think that if you really start calculating casualty figures, they're gonna bear this out. If you like review this in like the light of racial science or something, I don't think it's going to that it's going to reveal that. I think that's kind of a goofy kind of theory. But in general, though, I think this shows that wars improve things. You see things improving. You see how people get hysterical like at the improvements and think, because they see somewhat of a correlation here. Maybe they're even right, but if it is, it's okay. That just means World War III is corrective. That just means war is corrective, and war is corrective. Like, there's no real, like when people are like, they act like, well, the white man's been shit on or something, so we should just sit out of any kind of war or something, like, but that doesn't, I don't know. It like, to me, it's like if they come, if people are going to come at you, hey, we need you. You've got to save things. It might be, hey, well, look who's come crawling back. I think that's appropriate. I think that there should be a little of that, but it's out of the question. This is our role. This is why we're at where we're at. This is why our country is number one. This is why Europe got to be its position is through fighting. This is what a man is supposed to be able to do. This is what, in particular, a white man. A white man should be able to fight. You can't tell me it's anything else. It's not, we didn't get to where we're at. And other people will know this too, and they're basically they're right. If a brown person might tell you that white people, what they do is they fight and conquer and enslave, and they do all these things. They're not going to say, well, they're the craftiest and they have the most Nobel Peace Prizes and they're good at science and math, and so they make all this money and blah blah. Blah. They it's. One thing comes from the other, one thing flows down, and war is right there at the top. And this is where, it's good for us. It's good to be needed, like, at work or at my job. Like, I like it when things are kind of, I'm happy if you turn the heat up to where all the non-performers can't really do it. And I can. That means my job is secure. It means that some idiot can't just, oh, I could do that too, put me in there. No, they're gonna shirk away. And my job is secure. My position is secure. If things are just, but if things are just at like whatever kind of, like nothing really matters, because things are kind of coasting along and doing good, then somebody maybe could say, what's this guy even do around here? Or I can do that too just as easily, because if they fail, it means nothing, but if you really crank the heat up and it matters, then the right person has to be right there. Okay. So it's good if we raise the stakes a little bit and just show, because otherwise, what's exactly the argument? Like, you're just entitled to something because of this or that, or you should just be treated, or like, why should we care about your like race or something? Or like, what exactly what do you do around here? If you say, well, hey, I'm the man here. And if you need to kick some ass, I'm the guy who you get, and you just oh, okay, I don't know. That's a more proper attitude, and frankly, that's how you secure leadership too. It's not really correct to just pick. So typically you say the knight who goes off becomes a noble or so, or you elect the general president because he shows how he led troops or something. That's always made a lot of sense. You know, when you send people to war, they become heroes in something one way or another. Not typically hated, unless I guess you have the media to just constantly just tear them down or something. Like we have a media that only does that. With our military over the years, it's just been like the military's bad, and you should become more like a criminal, and you should do drugs and be like a criminal rebel, bad boy, idiot, degenerate fool in whatever way you can. Our country has kind of a problem with that. Like I have always kind of felt different. I'm not like people don't get this about me because I do have my run-ins with authorities or something, but I typically do believe in authority, and I think if someone is in the position, that should be at least respected to a certain extent, and just these things should be authority is good in general, and where I see authority as being bad is typically being weak, more than just being like overly strong or overly heavy-handed or something. I usually have more problems where you see weak authorities that just let evil people just run wild and just go, make things very troublesome for everyone else, and it's corrupt. But I don't, and there's nothing wrong with obedience and just obeying. And I would consider, like people don't want to be someone who just follows and but what's wrong with that really? Like that's what a young man should really do. Like if you're a young man, you should be willing to just shut up about your opinions and things, because they don't really matter. Like there's no reason you can't just follow orders and be a troop and soldier on and just fire your weapons and carry weapons for the government and just shut up and obey your orders and do that. That's totally appropriate, and like it shouldn't even be, I don't know, but it's like a bad thing with people or something. Like everyone needs to be free thinker, rebel, dissident, badass, like bubblegum chewing, like greaser, toothpick having, anarchic, transgressive, degenerate, polyamorous, free, like whatever is like better than just being like dutifully doing your job, like obeying orders. Like this is a big problem with the mentality of people. Like everyone wants to be like something, and they'll just like, because that's what everyone says to you. Like if you support like military or something, you're like an unthinking sheep or something. But actually, it's like more of the media is like consistently against the military. So it seems more like you're just easily swayed by other actors that can come along and just brainwash you from the sidelines. Even there's no, because it's real easy to figure out why someone would be a soldier or something, because you get paid for it. You get ahead in life and all that. But I think we need to give our troops more missions, more, get them out there, get them more, be aggressive. We need to get back into the world. This is a good thing. First, we need to purge ourselves from these feminized, anti-war, libertarian, Russian kind of pansy ideas, put on a more aggressive, ruthless, war-fighting warrior, strap on the armor, put on the helmet, grab the weapons. We need to wade into these countries again. This time around, I think just the way Trump is talking, I hope to see some real aggression, not non-intervention, but real intervention. Not kind of aggression like Russian aggression, where we just attack just a country that you claim to be you're brotherly with, where you launch a sneak attack against the country you say is your bro. I don't see that as a good kind of aggression. I admire the audacity of it, that they really did it, but I think we should really do some things on our own that aren't some evil and cheap, just despicable like that, like just murdering Europeans and such. I think we should really aggressively hit up our enemies hard and just remember how they behave and how they run their mouths. We need to just look at 9/11 and how all these foreigners still cheer on that and act like we're like this evil country or whatever, when all we've done is help them and all that. We all the aid we've given them, as merciful as we've acted, and this is how they carry on. We should remember this, and the next time around we have to deal with our enemy, just complete ruthlessness. And people say, well, I don't want a war because then we're going to be nation building, and then we're going to bring in all the refugees from the war. And shut up, you idiot! Complete ruthlessness. Your ideas make no sense. You're a fool. You're a modern monstrosity. Your brain is a toilet that foreigners have been pissing in for years. You're a piece of shit. We need to deal with these people ruthlessly. Go back into the world. Remember all the spiteful things they said about our country, all the ways they celebrate when any bad thing happens to us, how they gloat over it, all the bad things they attribute to us, blame on us, say that we did when we never even dreamed of such things. They haven't seen a real imperialism from us, and we need to just drill it into the whole third world, just bomb after bomb, with just troop deliveries and boots on their ground, crushing their skulls, mowing down their, we need to really take it to our enemies. This is what I want. I would like to see our troops just hit these places up like the Grim Reaper. No mercy, just ruthless. Not we're going to go there and try to find a faction to be, if such a faction exists, but look at Afghanistan, for instance, no such faction existed. We should have ended that. When we first went in, it was actually a little more laudable than it became later, where it was just burning terrorists out of caves and things and just dropping ordnance as just exterminators. Later, it became a more nation-building thing, trying to build up Afghan National Police Force, Army, and it didn't work out at all. This should be noted too. Didn't work out. They won't fight for themselves, won't do it. Get out early. If there's no one around who seems competent, there's no partner to follow up with, and you have no real interest in it, just get out. And this is one of the things that I do like about Trump. I do and I don't, because he's been saying lately with with Ukraine and stuff about he wants the raw earth minerals. They've got all this. He wants the metals and the minerals, and well, they've got this in the soil. They've got resources. It's valued at trillions. So clear cut in the national interest. But because we have a certain faction of Republicans and things who don't see how beneficial the whole war has been to us all the time. It's like it's turned into kind of a low life attitude. Like I don't really like to see, because we should be a country, I think, that should be like more idealistic in a way, not idealistic at our own detriment, and where we just because you don't like become transcendent to just become like a degenerate or something. That makes no sense. That's how it's worked out in the last few years. But in general, I think we should just, if we have people's backs, we're doing right. We're doing like we have, we have some good ideals that I think are solid. Not to say that we should just be fighting on the basis of these like intangible things, but we don't need to be so gross about things. If you pay us back, we'll like who wants to be like that? Like it's just some prick country. Whereas it's not even needed. Like we have like a solid ally who would like, they see it as like a no-brainer that they'd give us the stupid resources or whatever. They're fighting for their lives. They're fighting against our enemy, a longtime enemy as well. The partnership makes absolute sense. It is beneficial. We can secure the minerals. I mean, obviously there should be a partnership. There should be reciprocation. They should be helping us out too. Even though I think they already, they could definitely argue that they have, and they've put a foot forward and things like that. But like, it's like, yeah, okay, but I'm sure. I'd be sure that they'd hook us up. And to them, they already say, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Even though Republicans are still acting gross about it. Well, we want something out. We're not going to give you billions or nothing. Like, okay. We have to have people act all gross about it. But it's okay. Because there is good reason for it. The good thing is, a lot of those resources the Russians have basically secured. Actually, a lot of it has been done because of conservatives. We haven't been able to and let's face it, libtards as well. And libtardism, by the way, is a complete failure, and I don't think we should listen to them anymore. I mean, I never really did, and obviously they've always been, I've never really subscribed. But I said when the Ukraine war kicked off, I said, hey, actually, libtards are doing a good job. For a time, I thought they were. So if we keep this up, I'd have to almost, if libtards actually won in Ukraine, I'd probably just, like I said, I'd probably just be a libtard. I'd just be like, you're right, But you see how... well, you obviously have a ideology that can defend the West, but now we see they don't. So it's like you give a fair chance in all these things. But yeah, you see how they don't, all their supposed ideals, which includes like human rights type stuff, or like caring about like minorities and things like that. Like, but they don't actually care though. Like when people are like actually under fire, just ordinary people under attack by a foreign aggressor, with imperialistic, like libtards are not the ones who are suddenly sticking up for the little guy, are they? They only do that, as it turns out, to be transgressive in our own country and to tear our own country down. And if it's elsewhere, they have an opportunity to actually step up and show and like defend human life against like mass murderers, they shirk away and just let it happen and are cowards. That's the truth of it. They couldn't defend Europe, and You can't say, well, you're bigoted against libtards, because I gave libtards every opportunity. I really exposed myself, I think, to some of this by even after people who hate me. I said, well, let's just see if what you can do. Like, if you could actually back these people up, okay, I'm not going to counter signal you for however long. But now, obviously, libtards are over. They need to shut their mouths. They can't, I mean, like, what do they have to say if a libtard, what business do they have trying to call people Nazi or racist or homophobe or anything like that anymore? Because at the end of the day, if a stronger person, a richer person, like you say, this big huge country with much bigger weapons, all that, they attack a much smaller, the little guy, then they shirk away when they didn't need to, but they don't really care that much. They don't really have it in them. They're not really valiant people in the end. So some of them rose up. I think some libtards, you see how many libtards are like now just becoming full like third worldist and they're done with Ukraine or something. Some of them though, where they had there is an inner, they're real Westerners. There really are people. They rise up. Maybe they're still libtards, but they're still for Ukraine or something. Good on them. But in general, the ideology is clearly a proven failure. Okay. And on the topic, I'll say Israel, too, is a country that I'd say I had not really a lot of good thoughts for, maybe going into the war with Ukraine, who I'd say, well, maybe because certain kind of like third worldist Russia might act like that Russia is like kind of against Israel or something, or like there's like an axis, there's a divide here. Turns out this is not true. But maybe that it could have become like a civilizational conflict or something. And some people kind of portray this like there's like the US and then we've got all of our bros. We've got Ukraine, we've got Israel, we've got all this stuff. And then there's like Russia, and then they've got all these like other like scumbags and like henchmen around that, like Iran and North Korea or something, But, like I was willing to like just like at the beginning of the war, I say, well, war shows us the truth. Let war, war is a discerner of truth. War this is what people are saying. How do you find out, how do you find out who should be like your leadership class or something? A war can show you, can discern things. A war can discern many things. Okay. So with Israel, I'd say, well, let's not be, let's just see what they do. Let's just see, maybe because it could have been a real thing, right? Or they could have been like, whoa, Iran is on Russia's side, so we're like on Ukraine's side and America's side. But they never did this. This is our greatest ally. People don't even say that anymore. No one even says this anymore. Or like, it's so done. Like they used to say this even in other wars where they never helped us, but it would be like, because it would be like, well, if we like Desert Storm, they'd be like, well, if we were to help you, your coalition, because a lot of people don't like us, so like we're kind of a liability, so we don't need to be helping out. It's only going to be bad news for you. It's a bad look for you. Okay. War on terror, same thing. We'd love to help, but we don't. It'd be bad for it'd be kind of a liability for you, frankly. Like we don't need to. You don't need us in on that, right? Like, you don't need us in that. Like, we're going to sit this one. Our greatest ally had to sit out again. Well, what business? Our greatest ally, why aren't they? And then in this one, they're like, just straight up like, well, we're friends with Russia. Like, they're like the shittiest ally ever. They're not even really an ally. And they're actually like, then they're like diverting weapons shipments from Ukraine, seemingly on behalf of Russia, saying like we need all this stuff for Hamas. Ukraine only needs it so much. They're only fighting the Russian army. We're fighting Hamas, a strong, a real force, a real superior force. They're like the shittiest. That they've really, and even beyond that, they're like in every way they've proven themselves to be kind of like. I mean, like I say I gave them a fair chance. This isn't like a, anti-Zionist or anti-Semitic thing. It's just a objectively, well, let's just see what you do. I'm willing to reevaluate, and then it's duplicitous, backstabbing. I mean, they could have helped out in all these different ways, and they never did. And instead, they would still conduct business with Russia, and still do now. And even now, they are the conduit. The main conduit for Russian influence into our country is still Israel. It's just a portal. All this influence, however much we can sanction Russia and all that, it's wide open with Israel, okay? Because they're still doing all this. They have a deal with Russia to the end of making propaganda and films and videos and stuff. Like, they don't need to do that. There's all the stuff. So, I don't know. At this point, like it'd be real disappointing, I think, if Trump really gets into like Gaza and does all this stuff. Like in the end, okay, troops have to follow orders. Okay, if Hamas fires on our soldiers, okay, I don't really care if whatever. But this would be like a real war for Israel, even if it's well, we're doing it on America's terms or something, and Israel's not that happy about it, and we're going to own all the territory next to them and do what we want. Even then, this is like would be a legit like war for Israel. Like all these people would be like, no wars for Israel. Even though there really was never a war for Israel, really. Like there never really, this is kind of a bogus thing, even, because even if, Israel wasn't even the only motivation for 9/11. Let's be real. It wasn't the only one they gave, because they didn't appreciate Al Qaeda is against all the Arab regimes too, and us supporting these regimes and stuff like that too. They don't want to see us. They didn't like us fighting Iraq. They didn't like Saudis inviting us in. They don't like us being there at all. Even though all these, it's not just about Israel. And even if we support Israel in a way and have in the past, and then Al Qaeda attacks us because they see us as like supporting Israel or something, that still doesn't make our war with like a war for Israel. It just means that's like saying we fought Japan in World War II for China. Because we embargoed the oil when they were. Kind of for China, like Japan's fighting China, we do oil embargo on Japan, then Japan attacks us over it. It'd be like saying like no war for China or something. But at the time, people had sense to just be like, well, it's not a war for China. We're doing what we felt was our best policy, and then they conduct this attack on us, and now obviously we need to respond. So obviously Afghanistan, and also I would really argue against Iraq. And if anyone's trying to say this is a war for Israel, this is not. If you really break it down, that doesn't really make that much sense. If you look at it at a surface level, I could see, people can kind of make sense of it this way, but it's not that intelligent of a thing to think or say. But this would be like if we went to Gaza, like that would be like a legit like war for Israel. No way. It's just too close to the whole thing. Even just attacking Hamas, doing all this stuff. We're trying to secure Israel. Not what we need to do. You know, even if it's a bold thing, even if we finally settle the whole matter, you know, if we really want to do that, we should just let them do it and not do it ourselves. Because it seems like now we'd be stepping up into helping out Israel, you know, do what they kind of couldn't do. I don't know. But yeah, it's a total misreading of the situation. I hope we don't do that. I don't want to get too into it. I think it's probably not going to happen. Maybe it will. You know, it's hard to say. Or who's to say what it would look like? Or, you know, there's a lot of room for interpretation here. But in general, that's about the last project that, like, to get into, like, you know, when I say we want, like, imperialism, the Gaza project is about the worst one. Like, and it's just, like, not, it'd be, like, really depressing and probably kind of a disaster and blah, 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 blah. I'm willing to trust the plan, but I don't know to an extent. With that one, it's really like it's just not looking good, and it looks like there's like the kind of twisted. All the worst people in the Trump things are the anti-Ukraine, pro-Israel. Effectively, this is the Russian position. These are the Russian people, and that's who would really be securing a victory if this happened. Okay, so not too, but pretty. I mean, I think everyone's pretty much in agreement. No one really wants to see this stuff happen. Maybe some people do. I don't know. If you do, whatever. No hard feelings too, but I don't know about that. Like, I really don't know about it. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. But stuff like Greenland, kind of a no-brainer. You know, not that exciting. Canada, that gets a little wild too. With stuff like Canada, you know, I'd hate to see it as I don't know. I think they probably should be maybe a few extra states. I don't think we need to put it in like that's like a punishment for Canada or something, or we're gonna like kick your ass and do this. But I think maybe Canada might, you know, they might see the benefit in doing it. I think that would be the way to go. I personally would like to see all the big Anglo countries just kind of get together and become like a super nation. I'd be for that. I'd even be for that if like we changed the, you know, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but even if we change, like in the future, like if we were to like change like the overall structure, even if we were to like change the Constitution or the whole, you know, national district, because I don't see our country really beginning in 1776. As Americans, it begins earlier, you know. Frankly, even before there was North America, I kind of think of like England as like the America of the time. You know, it's like if you're on the continent, you could probably go to America. You could go to England. You know, like there's England. It's like an island off the continent, and it's like almost like the first America or something, like the proto-America. You know, I kind of see it like that. That's how I kind of see it, and then I see like then of course they would find, you know, the real America, the bigger America, you know, because they're the real Americans who are already, you know, they've got the spirit in them. There's something to this. I think there could be something building, you know, as a race, you know, like we've built like a race out of this, you know, and but we have America, I think, should be the centerpiece, but I'd be about making Britain a state too. And also Australia, I think, should definitely be like part of, I don't know, I kind of have like a pan-Anglo. I think this would be an appropriate country. Like no one could beat that country, right? If it was like all these countries together, we would like own everything. No one could beat us. So that's, I mean, but I like the idea of like Canada and stuff like that. I don't like when people are like against it, or Canadians are like, we'll never join you or something. That's like a kind of reactionary in my, like, that's kind of the provincial kind of, I don't know. I'm not too into that. To me, it's like we should just make like a, obviously if it comes with all these other bad things, then that should be sorted out too. Like when you talk about like this stuff to people, they'll be like, well, this is be a bad idea because there'd be like all these other like immigrants or something that show up from all these other, but like, what if they don't ever think about that? Like this is the best thing about like why these ideas need to be talked about more, is just because people are so small-minded and puny-brained and just myopic view. They like think all these like dumb ideas that have been stuck in their head, but they don't have to be like that. And if you could look at like a little more broad, you could figure out what kind of possibilities are out there, what we can do. And frankly, what like the end of it is, we could do anything we want. And if Trump, I don't know, maybe someone puts it to him to that this could just be a global, I mean, because we could take over the whole world. We really could do it. No one could stop us. We could just take over everything and just get rid of, dismantle every other country and call it ours, or call it whatever we want. And we could do it all. And we could set it, you could say, well, that seems like a one world government or like a new world order or something. But, it doesn't necessarily mean that's bad even, or it doesn't even mean that's going to happen. But it could be done. It should be considered that no one can really stop us, like, I don't know, that could be a prerequisite to other, space travel and so forth. If this is what we're meant to do, or who knows, but it could be, in the future, it could be like that we have like, there might, maybe it should be there's one country that's really running the whole planet, and then we need the resources to, to even find more planets or something. I don't know. That doesn't seem totally unrealistic. Either way, I'm not saying like it's not like I'm going to have all the ideas, but I think I like that other people are coming up with more ideas, even when people I think are kind of getting kind of crackpot and stupid and kind of immature and stuff. Like, I appreciate at least that they had the spirit of like thinking about new possibilities, like seriously thinking about it. Like if it's like someone who just thinks like yeah, like maybe we could like just take Canada or something, like serious, like not as like a joke, not as a funny like Jackson Hinkle way to like rip on Canada or something, but like just like an actual like, this is like, we could do this, like we could seriously do this, like, we should be thinking more like that as a country, and like actually seriously gearing up to do it, getting into these battles, getting our troops into these battles, and just everything we want to do as a country, we probably should be doing it. Maybe not global domination, world takeover. Maybe that's too far. Maybe because maybe we're not really interested, and I don't think we are. But I think we could do it for sure. But maybe that's not in our interest. But what is in our interest, we should really be thinking about. Getting rid of every other, kind of idea. Like when people speak against these things or against our national interests or something, they should be mocked. They should be not taken seriously. Their ideas should be swatted down. I mean, at the end of the day, we should be thinking about national interests, and every foreign policy decision should revolve around this. What's in it? What's in our interest? Anything else is totally immoral. It's not about if Jackson Hinkle thinks that there's some, black powered South African that's like a badass or something. Like it's not about that. It's not about if we have people who have an ideology we like or something, but it should be in our interest. It certainly shouldn't be about spreading all this AIDS stuff or whatever that's been going on since Obama, and has been entirely, all this USAID stuff and all this like promotion of like LGBT and stuff. This isn't like, that wasn't happening in like before Obama. It happened because of dissidents had a real problem, and we're calling like the government Nazi and stuff, and we're talking about like hope and change and some other weird thing, and they just polluted everything with their weird ideas. That's what was ushered in. It had nothing organic to do with the military, because the military organically looks for solutions and things. Even if people say, well, all these refugees came from like the wars, and that's not really true. And even where it did, I mean, maybe some of them did, but especially they probably mostly came during Obama, when it was a big push for refugees, and that's because during the Bush years, with the real war on terror going on, there's every dissident is saying there is no real enemy. Al Qaeda's not real. It just means that CIA database or something. 9/11 truth. Islam is peace. Muslims are a peaceful thing. They're the victim. They're the thing. No terrorists would attack us, and they're the good guys. We need to take them in. They should be. So that was the push for all the refugees that showed up to Europe and elsewhere. It had nothing to do with the natural exigencies of war, because when do you bring the enemy population into your country during a war? Like, obviously any general like looking at it would be like, that's militarily not a good idea, so wars don't really bring all these refugees. It's more, traditionally you'd be more likely to just kill all these, like they're the enemy population and such. It's only because we have so many anti-war people who've been taking all this Russian foreign anti-war thought that these ideas could even materialize at all. As soon as we purge this out, and this could be, I mean, it might, there's only so many people who will listen to this, but some people will, but naturally they will be purged out, and even just speaking these things into existence, and they will. I mean, it's already happening. We've already seen a lot of this. That's why they're screaming about World War III and stuff like that, because they see it's improving, because they see our military situation's improving. They see we're at a good vantage point to jump back off, to get back into the world like we, in a serious way, grab our weapons and act like, I don't know, to really get to it. And they see how good a position we're in and how bad a position they're in, and how if we have the right morale and the real esprit and the ruthlessness, they can't stop us from anything. They could try whatever they want. They can't stop us. If we just get totally ruthless and just hit them with just unrelentingly, just demoralizing them. Just everything that they hold sacred in their whatever land, just put JDAMs through it, put cruise missiles through it, just set it on fire. Send our troops in and just have them pour jugs of JP8 all over everything and just set it on fire. And just see how they could stop us. And if you fire on our troops, we're firing on everything. To see if they stop us. If we have the right mentality, the right mindset to do that, we should set things up, correctly. Not just to be, to uglify everything like the Russians. Wherever they go, they just turn everything like shitty and ugly and like nasty, and they just relish in just being like shits and like just being like just these like smelly like brute like morons. But we could actually make like a beautiful world if we like attack and like take over things and just start, do things the way we want, rebuild where we want, build where we want, where we don't, we're gone. We're just setting everything on fire and leaving. We rebuild nothing. We don't have to. Like, people don't get you. Well, you have to. No, you don't have to. So with Trump, I think he has a better way of thinking. I think Trump is very much like at like genius level. Like I think he is a genius. I don't think Elon Musk is, and I think you could see this by the way. Trump will come up with new ideas, totally unexpected, just throwing everybody off. Where Elon Musk never does. He just says like stuff everyone has been thinking about for like decades as like a novel thing, like electric cars or like go to Mars or or regurgitating stupid like libertarian pap and so like it's just an entirely mediocre, predictable character. We need to really get to it, and I think our enemies, because we have real enemies out to just wipe out, especially Russia and everyone who they're friends with. And it's like the mediocre kind of world. And especially too, figure this. If we put a real war to it, like, hey, this is a real war, okay? And these people are real enemies. You're gonna say not one as far as immigrants, not a few about Russia. No immigrants from Russia sympathetic countries. Give those countries zero aid, just cut all aid off. And any country that's in the Russian orbit, like South Africa, that's a good deal. Any BRICS, anything, just zero US aid. No aid from our country going forward. You're not an ally, obviously. You get no money. Immigrants can't come from your country to ours anymore because you support Russia. Your people are likely to be enemy agent. And if an immigrant shows up and they're supporting our enemies, if they back they should be sent. That shouldn't be tolerated. Okay, too much of that is like, it's like people act like the U.S. There's so much that like you can't say, but you could really get away with anything. And these people show up to our country hating our country, and it's totally fine. Like that's kind of an absurd situation. Most time, even immigration activists will say, "Well, no, no one should like move to a country that they hate. That's not right." But people do it. And that's the situation. You have people, and frankly, to some extent, no, that's every illegal immigrant because obviously they have no respect, for our country and for our people if that's the way that they're going about things. They can't say that they respect anything. But if you get on a real war footing, you're not coming here. The refugees, no. People from BRICS countries, absolutely not. People from countries aligned with Russia, no. Should we give them any aid? No. They're our enemy. They will receive fire rained on. They will receive steel. They will receive bombs from the sky, and they will receive, ships full of soldiers landing on their shore. Kitted out with weapons and explosives. With orders to shoot to kill and to show no mercy. Things will look very different in a real short time, and believe it or not, that you say, well, that might cost a lot of money. Believe it or not, this can make money. You might have never thought of this because you've been living in a libtard infected, foreign idea infected world for so long, and we're crippled by this mental poison. But if we were free of it, just imagine U.S. troops just totally free of these libtard qualms. Just totally free of any qualms and just expeditionary, going into the world, finding our enemies, taking them out, you know, with real esprit, with real you know, that'd be really something. Not trying to promote some like degeneracy or something or anything like that, and not about that. As things go on, you're gonna see things just get fixed, because I mean, there's so much that like things that are just not like militarily feasible. You don't like insert some woke thing into it. Like there'd be no reason to put like when they put like women into combat units. This is completely, which hasn't even really happened because it barely ever happens, and there's only been so much of that at all. But it shouldn't really exist at all, in my opinion. Because it's not correct. It's not militarily is completely incorrect. And there'd be no military justification for it. Like we need people who are significantly weaker and can die of a yeast infection if they're not like showering and that they're living in bad conditions. They can like die of like a yeast infection. That doesn't sound like a awesome. That doesn't sound like a serviceable soldier at all. Like it's frigging. That's insane. So that's where we're at. But before long, we can start clearing out all the. As people get all these ideas, like even like that, we could like people like entertaining the idea that we could send like our own criminals to El Salvador and like Supermax and like. I don't know. Then I don't know that Bukele guy would probably hook these guys up to machines and use their body warmth to like mine Bitcoin or something. Like probably mine cryptocurrencies with their body heat or something. Like I don't know what he plans to do, but the fact that this is considered and being brought up is super dope. We're in a good spot. Like people act like we're in like a bad spot. We're in a very good spot. Our biggest enemy is always ourselves. Our biggest problem is a heart problem where we won't just do it, but we're very close to where, and we might just even get forced along as predicted, because people don't do the right thing, not just because they're forced to, and then they do it. Okay. So, I don't know. In the end, yeah, I think this is we need more of this. We need more on this path. This is where we, imperialistic, going into the world with our weapons, get more stuff, maybe acquire more onto our country, but also we should be taking possession of things, maybe not as a state, not granting statehood or incorporating into our nation, but just as a sort of possession. We should be working out a new framework for this sort of thing too, because we should, and this will cut down immigration as well, because we can already see that there's however many countries that are just pure chaos, because it's been, instead they've had like ideas like they're just going to become like its own country, like on its own. Like I find it really hard to believe if you just think about like telecommunications infrastructure and things like that. Like I don't know how this goes if like if I was in some country, like some third world country or something, how you could make like if you have like a business and you need like whatever I don't know how they're doing. It just seems like chaos, and I don't know, but it's like if we could go there, turn these into like kind of colonies and stuff, and like colonize them, and they'll just become like part of our empire and stuff. It'd be a much better deal for everybody involved. Like it's everything else has been kind of mythical. Like these countries are just going to run themselves and all that. Instead, it's like other countries are just working their business interests in and doing a kind of imperialism that's kind of lame and more capitalistic and just like whatever, just kind of colorless. We want a more colorful. We should have the most beautiful empire. We like everything should be dope. Like if we take over like a country in like Africa or something, I think we should make it into like a dope country. Not just to like be jerks and all that, but like I mean, definitely exert authority, but like it should be better. And I think given experiences of the 20th century should be able to inform this kind of policy going into the 21st, and even many recent things. But that's about what I'm calling for, and I want to keep on talking about this stuff. I mean, I think it's really great. I like talking about stuff that's not just polemic, but is really constructive and kind of creative, because we can get the more people talk about like ideas and things like that, it's just really good. And you could imagine how fearful our enemies will be when more of our people, instead of just being like total Ron Paul pussy idiot, like with these dumb like the petty ideas that are just about like money and crap and being like just some slob. If we're like a real serious nation, like we're like a real people put together who are like ready to like take what's ours and kick some ass and like punish evildoers and so forth. That's people are really going to be sweating it, and you already see these Russian pieces of shit. They're already really sweating it, and they're already grumbling and crying, and it's all falling apart. What all the MAGA people expected, because their ideas were foolish, and what was told is foolish. But what we're getting is something much better, not non-intervention pussy land where nothing gets better. Because why would our situation get better with no intervention, with no wars going forward? It was just peace. We're at where we're at. No one sees what we're good for because it's peace. No one sees you. What good are you? That's why a lot of the troops, they get back into peacetime, and then they they get depressed. They get like PTSD and stuff, and then they like whatever. They might even end it, for themselves. You see all the stuff, but they go downward spiral because they in peace, but what good? What they have no purpose anymore. There's no, there isn't really, they're bored, they're depressed. They just get depressed, and then they go to see. No one sees what they're good for. They're mocked. They're hated for everything. No one relates to them, and then they maybe even commit suicide or something. And this is like I don't know. It's no good. But that's what we've had for however long. You see what do we need you around here for? If it's continuously like people are going to get fit, healthy, lethal, we're going to know what we need them for because we're surrounded by enemies. And if someone shows up, we don't have enemies. They're not. They should be forced to stop talking. Some way we could come up with some creative ways to do that, but that should not, this level of treason has gone on for a very long time. Like, I mean, probably reached the fever pitch in the 60s, which is just unbelievable when you just review what the kind of things people would say, and just unbelievable. But now we're kind of back in a similar thing. Once again, it's Russia propaganda. People are very easily psyoped by this stuff, especially free tinker types who turn out to be, shit for brains. Anyway, I love talking about this stuff. I could just go on for forever. But I think we need to start somewhere. But yeah, I think first off, the population, purge ourselves from this disgusting Russian thoughts. Purge ourselves from those inner Russia, the inner effeminate pussy Ron Paul idiot. Purge ourselves from all these like stupid, disgusting, libtard, hippie ideas and things that do nothing, only get people killed, have only turned our nation to shame, have only made us look bad, have only hurt our position, have only hurt our ability to help other people. We need to get rid of these things. I'm not saying like we should be like when I say like we should get into I think people might be thinking like that this is like a dark and like it seems violent and dark and like a evil, wicked kind of like, but it's really not. Like, this is how we could do the most good. This is how we've done a lot of good in the past. America is typically good. I don't really buy it that like we've ever been a bad guy country. I think people need to pay for saying stuff like that. Because typically, we have people's backs. When the best of us are running things, we have people's backs, and we're an idealistic country that is very much happy to fight and things. And only through peace and psyops and things like that have we had the worst people rising to the top and infecting people with all their disgusting thoughts about how like it's like bad to like do all this stuff and all that. And they're the reasons why things have gotten very degenerate and unhealthy in all these different ways. And, they've been a decay for our country with their non-interventionist peace, America is bad ideas and stuff like that. We could do a lot more good if we get rid of stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like you see like these people will put like, I don't know, like it's like the countries America's bombed, and it's like all these countries and stuff like that. But like if you look in, like they'll list like Sudan, and it's like because we shot cruise missiles into Sudan and stuff after like Al Qaeda attacks, even before 9/11. Like they're defending this stuff. Like all this stuff is like good stuff. Like it's like killing communists and stuff like that, killing terrorists and stuff like that. They're like, this is all the countries America's bombed. And it's always like, this is all the countries America's bombed since World War II is what it's typically. So, and then it's like all good stuff. It's like, wait, this is all deserved. It's the people who are putting the stuff are the bad people. The people dropping the bombs are good, but we should be ruthlessly dealing with these people. You see how spiteful they hate us. We've been kind, and they hate us for it. When we need to really, put our foot down, to really hit them up. Like when I was in the Marines, we'd say, no better friend, no worse enemy. And it's true. Because of that, we would be very hard on, if it's an enemy village, we'd be very hard on it. If it's a friendlier village, we might drop off the Kalashnikovs we took from the last village and give it to this. We've done that before. We handed out the Kalashnikovs from the Humvee to the nice people that we took from, the last people down who weren't so nice. We've done that, and that's a good policy. If If you want to be our enemy, we should ruthlessly deal with you and your people. If you want to be our friend, then you should be, I think we should have our friends' backs. I'm willing to go. Like, I'm not like, you need to, we don't want to be mercenary about it. Like, I think it'll pay off just being a good friend with our friends. Like, I think it will pay off. Like, it's not just, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, and then we need to get all the Hinkle people, all the ACP people into Gitmo, as well as just everybody who. I mean, we could really clean house on people. We have a real war. We could internally clean house too. Like, in war, you could do things that in a real war you could do things that you can't normally. Even this is like. And like Adolf Hitler had, like, they say this is like a totalitarian dictator. He said before the war, he didn't feel like he could do things like euthanasia and stuff like that. Like, the things he did because he started doing other things after invading Poland, after the World War was declared on him, because he felt his hands were free to do all this stuff. And he was correct, because in peace, he probably would have received a lot more. It would have been politically more difficult. In war, it proved very easy. I'm not saying we should do the same things that we should do, but we could do what we want to do as Americans, as our people. We could do those things, and we're much less encumbered to act. It might be scary if you're a libertarian, but we could, as a real imperialist power, as something, making something new, we could really do it. We could do a lot, but war provides a lot of, if you're fighting, if you have an enemy, that is respected to a certain point. Like, you have to be free to do your thing. You can't have all this, backbiting and so forth. But so this is very exciting. I hope you're excited about this as well. That anyone has any further ideas, I'd like to hear it. But yeah, I plan on talking about this stuff more. But we'll get more into it the further we go. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a good one.